Welcome to Swift 2, the master project. To get started, I'm going to give you a brief overview of what this video will cover. First, install Xcode if you haven't already. Second, a brief introduction to Swift 2, the master project. Third, a brief rundown on the panels and components of Xcode. Last, an overview of how the master project is laid out and how to use it effectively. So let's get started. If you don't already have Xcode installed, go ahead and pause the video. Follow the link in the description, download and set up Xcode. Once you get to the welcome screen, continue. Great. Now I'm going to talk about what the master project is and how you can get the most out of this series. The master project is designed to give you a simple, easy way to discover the various controls and components that make up iOS apps. While there are many tutorials online to study app development, I found when starting my first app, iTextSpeed 2, that many of the controls weren't immediately clear how to use. That's why I've created the master project. The master project is one project that contains all the controls with simple examples for how to code them. Now we're going to take a look at the controls and components that you'll use in your apps. For my example, I'm going to use the Swift master project. We'll open that up, and you'll see the main project window. To the left, you'll see the project panel where we're going to expand the project container, and you'll see the frameworks, groups, and resources for your project. To the right, you'll see an inspector panel. You can show and hide this by clicking the button on the top right of the screen. It will give you details about the files selected, and it's very useful in building our apps. Now we're going to take a look at the main storyboard. This is where we'll build the screens for our apps. I'm going to hide the project panel to the left, and you'll see the scenes in the master project. To view a scene and examine its functionality, all you'll need to do is select the scene and show the inspector panel. Select Is Initial View Controller. This was done to ensure that the master project was as simple as possible. Each section, control, and component is its own view. All you have to do is select the scene, select Is Initial View Controller, and build and run. This is in contrast to the way you will likely build other apps, where each view will be connected to other views in the app. For example, with the video player scene, there's an object known as a segue. Segues take you from one view to another. Again, for the master project, I wanted to keep things as simple as possible, so each view is a silo. Once you select a view and set it as Initial View Controller, it will be the only view you see when you run the project. One last thing to remember when working with the master project is how to switch which controls you're working with. For instance, if you want to work with importing and capturing photos, you can select the Import and Capture Photos scene. Once there, right-click on the View Controller object and inspect the various connections between the views on the screen and the code. As you point to each of the controls on the Connections dialog, they will be highlighted on the view scene, as well as showing you the name given to that control and code. Another way to look at these examples is to jump directly into the code files. These have been named to match the names on the scenes. You'll notice that the names in the code correspond with the names for the controls on the scenes. There's another way to view both the code and the controls simultaneously. For this, I'm going to go full screen. I'll hide the Project Navigator panel to give us more screen space, and from here you can see the controls. But if you click on the Assistant Editor button, the two overlapping circles, you can see the controls and the code side by side. From here you can use the Target object to inspect the controls and discover the code. That's it.